Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to First Tuesday. I'm Andrew Aline, Dean of the College of Science and Engineering here at the University of Minnesota. And so you may be asking yourself, with the Dean from the College of Science and Engineering doing the introductions, are you in the right place? And the answer is absolutely yes. This is the Carlson First Tuesday. I am eager to advance our work with the Carlson School and my friend, Dean Jamie Prenkert, because these are the kinds of partnerships across colleges that are really critical to driving the university's collective impact. In fact, as I've mentioned to some of you, Dean Prenkert and I are actually going to be in the Bay Area hosting an event together later this month out in Palo Alto, where we'll rally alumni and admitted students together from the area to hear from the chief scientist of Google and the CEO of Tableau, both alums, I might add, and hear what they have to say about harnessing the power of AI. So that's going to be an exciting activity that we're doing together jointly. And with Dean Prenkert traveling today, I'm pinch hitting, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to be here with you and introduce our featured speaker, Dr. Jayshree Seth of 3M. At the University of Minnesota, we are very proud of our long-standing partnership with 3M. For example, 3M has been a leader in investing in our students through scholarships like the 3M Impact Scholarship, and future students through robust K-12 outreach. 2, 3M regularly collaborates with U of M faculty to advance research and innovation. And thirdly, 3M employees are highly engaged across the entire campus with nearly 40 leaders on advisory boards and councils. That is a huge number. So before telling you more about Dr. Seth, on behalf of the Carlson School, I want to thank First Tuesday's corporate and media partners. So the premier sponsor is Tennant Company, the gold sponsor is Wells Fargo, maroon sponsor is Nerdery, and the media sponsor is Twin Cities Business. And of course, a very special thank you to the many Carlson School of Management, College of Science and Engineering, and University of Minnesota supporters that are in our audience in person and online today. We wouldn't have this event without you. And thank you also to the benefactors joining us today, including the Carlson School Investors Circle members. The Investors Circle is the school's annual giving society and recognizes the school's most ardent and committed individual supporters. So welcome to all of you. And now, the preamble to the main event, let me tell you a little bit about our very exciting speaker, Dr. Jayshree Seth. Okay? So we are very excited to have 3M corporate scientist and first ever chief science advocate with us today. And now that's a role I really want to hear more about. So Jayshree joined 3M over many years ago. I'm not going to, yes. After a PhD in chemical engineering from Carlson University in New York. She has over 80 patents to her name, which is a lot, for a variety of innovations. And she was the 4th woman and the very first woman engineer to be inducted into the 3M Innovation Hall of Fame, which is the Carlton Society. Yeah. But wait, there's more. If you keep clapping after each one, we're going to be here for a long time because she's done so much. She's also a winner of the Society of Women Engineers' highest achievement award and a Gold Stevie Award for thought leadership. She's a sought-after speaker globally on a multitude of topics, including innovation, leadership, and STEM advocacy. And she's featured in local, national, and international media. As a matter of fact, if she looks familiar, Jayshree has also been featured in primetime 3M ads, so you may have seen her on TV. She is a proud parent of 2 adult children, and her husband, Raghu Padia, is also a 3Mer. You want to raise your hand? Support vehicle. In 2020, Jayshree and Raghu established the Sankofa Scholarship for undergraduate students in the College of Science and Engineering, which aims to increase student diversity in science, technology, engineering, and math, true to their principles. So we're honored to count Jayshree and Raghu among our partners in educating and training future Gophers whose own diverse life experiences will equip them to address the diverse and complex challenges ahead. So Jayshree is going to be sharing a presentation with us, and then we'll open for your questions. So please join me in welcoming Jayshree to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much, Dean Aline. You are 2 for 2 welcoming me at the University of Minnesota stages, so I appreciate that. And I also appreciate you all for being here. And I'm not just doing the thank you for being here. I mean, I really mean it. Let me tell you why. So I called my daughter and I told her I'll be at the U, I'll be speaking at this First Tuesday thing, and she's like, isn't that the one with the CEOs? And I'm like, yeah, mommy was gonna be speaking there, and I'm just gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna say. And she goes, oh, I checked, don't worry, nobody will be there, it's spring break. So, thank you very much for being here. My husband is here. He is going to be the witness that people were here when mommy was speaking. And I have to say thank you also to my 3M peeps. Without that support, nothing happens. So I'm very excited to have my 3M people here as well. So as I was looking through the stuff that, I don't have to be tethered to this, right? Wonderful. Because I'm a walker and a hand talker, so I can't have the handheld mic for sure. So I was looking through the stuff that Dean Prankard sent me, and of course they were all CEOs, and I was trying to figure out what they speak about. So what I learned is that what you all hear about is their background, how they got to the role of CEO, what they're doing in their current companies, and lessons learned over their lifetime. I was channeling my daughter, and I'm thinking, nobody wants to know how I got my role, because I ain't the CEO. But, as Dean said, it is a very interesting role, and there'll be a lot of CEOs in the world, but there's only one Chief Science Advocate, and you can Google that. So it is a very interesting role, I will say. Now, I asked Matt, I said, tell me what I should talk about. What are the things that garner a lot of interest lately? And he said 2 things. One is the navigation through change, and then the other one is innovation and pathways to innovation. And I said, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to be talking about. That's exactly what I have been talking about at business schools. And what I can give is perspective that you may not perhaps get, which is the perspective from the trenches. And I want to talk about the fine print that I believe was illuminated under the darkness of the pandemic. And I know, pandemic, it's done, it's gone, let's move on, nobody wants to talk about it. But that was really a unique moment in time. And that was a unique moment in time because it revealed so much to us about the next normal. It revealed so much to us about the old truths that need to be challenged, and it also showed us that there are things that are happening that can give us actionable insights, strategic foresight, and it can also tell us things in our own operational oversight that all of us can implement in our lives, in our homes, in our work, in our academia setting, or in business. So that's what I'm going to talk about, the fine print. So let's set the stage with some business lexicon. I know enough to be dangerous. The business world is often represented by VUCA, right? The reason being that it is a term borrowed from the military, but it represents what happens in business as well. However, what happened during the pandemic, I'm sure you agreed, makes this look tame and manageable. So we needed a new name. What is going on at that time? And I thought, who better than to come up with it than somebody who is not in business, right? So I coined what is called VUCA 3.0. And if you're wondering why VUCA 3.0 and why not VUCA 2.0, VUCA 2.0 actually already exists, and it has a Minnesota connection. Bill George, who was the ex-CEO of Medtronic, in 2017 he said, do not like the way management professionals are running organizations. There is too much change in this world. We need VUCA 2.0. So what is VUCA 2.0? It is vision, it is understanding, it is courage and adaptability. That's what Bill George said. And then came to 2020. There was a whole lot more change, and that's why we needed VUCA 3.0. So what is VUCA 3.0? There was no discussion of volatility. it was completely eclipsed by the discussion of vulnerability. Vulnerability not just of our health or our lives, but also of countries and communities and companies were exposed. It was also unprecedented. We don't even have to talk about that one. And then everything was extremely contentious. Every topic became controversial. Everything was being debated and disputed rather than being discussed. And then the words, the actions, the abundant rhetoric, it was all amplified, adding to the chaos and confusion that was that pandemic era that we lived through. And as we were just stepping out of that, what happened? I'm sure everybody recognizes that. That is the picture of the ULCV, ultra-large container vessel, stuck in the Suez Canal. And for 2 weeks or so, we were all mesmerized and looking at this. And why is that? Because some of us didn't even realize how big these ships are, how arduous the path they travel are. We just hit deliver. We don't know that the paths are so arduous and how narrow that channel really is. So much so that one stuck ship can have this cascading impact that reverberated for months. But what people also saw in this was somehow it resembled our lives. The load is higher than it has ever been before. And that load is piled higher than it has ever been before. And there is this immense pressure, speed, productivity, efficiency, and nobody appreciates the journey, the trial, the travails, the tribulations to get through these deliverables. No appreciation of that. And that pressure raises the chances of human error. And that, when the high loads are piled so high, physics says, this is the only science you'll hear about, you are going to be very susceptible to high winds. And that means changes in the boundary condition. One little change in your lives and you can be stuck for a long time, and the impact will be felt. And that is the reason why I think, 50 million people walked out of their jobs because this realization happened. This is called reset, resignation, reshuffle, and now reimagination. And people are like, well, they came back. They came back, but they're not the same people. Each one of us can vouch for it. Our relationship with our work has changed, and this situation and the pandemic has even changed how our kids think. I know that for a fact because I had 2 pandemic graduates, one from high school and one from college. It has had an impact on their psyche. This is the reason why people needed a sense of renewal. And that is why it is time that is ripe for change and innovation. How does innovation fit into this? Nobody can define innovation. We all have a slightly different idea of what that means and what it really is. If I asked you what is innovation, you'll probably take your smartphone out. Okay. Was cell phone an innovation? Was rotary phone an innovation? Hundreds of years ago, was the smoke signal that we used to communicate with the next village, was that an innovation? So you see what happens? Our lens on innovation changes. It depends on our vision, it depends on our values, it depends on the society, it depends on sentiments, but the lens on innovation changes. And that's what needs to happen again. Our lens on innovation needs to change. And this word has been used, misused, abused so much that it doesn't mean much anymore. In fact, in 2012, there was an article that says the usage of the word innovation is increasing and the meaning is decreasing. We can all agree, though, that innovation has ideas that have impact. We can all agree. But where do these ideas come from and how do they create impact? If we're thinking in terms of product innovation, ideas, from my perspective, from 30 years, I've been at 3M, driving innovation from the trenches for 3-0. He didn't say it, I can say it. And what I know is you need collective context and you need collective commitment. Those are the only things that can make innovation happen. And what does that require? That requires you to have boundless curiosity and within a set boundary condition. Boundless curiosity about that context within the boundary conditions. I'll give you an example of how we do this at 3M. How do we connect science, advancement in science, to technology building blocks, to technology platforms that then serve to create products which are based on market trends and customer needs. We connect across this spectrum at 3M. And something that brings it to life is how we use our platforms. And the reason for platforms, you all know, is that you can then leverage them in a nonlinear fashion again and again, right? And so we create our platforms, simple adhesives, but we can use them on paper. We can use them to close boxes. These adhesives can go on the wall. They can go on cars. They can go on fabric. They can go in planes, trains, automobiles. They can go in your smartphone innovations, and they can also go against your beautiful and diverse skin. It's the same platform, but we have innovation in all these areas because we invest in understanding the chemistry, the materials, the rheology, the processing, the manufacturing. And that's how you use platforms. So now you're saying, great, Jayshree, you all have curiosity at 3M and you've got the strategy and structure. But do you know the business aphorism that culture eats strategy for breakfast? Dang straight it does. And we know that very well. And that's why we have what is called McKnight principle. If there was ever a visionary right here, somebody who said you need to let people exercise their initiative, and by the way, almost 100 years ago, men and women, a real visionary, right? This is what creates a culture of employee initiative. A culture of employee initiative. Okay, so now you're saying, great, you can plaster this picture all over, but how do you operationalize that? Good question. Let me tell you how we operationalize that. Number one, we have what is called 15% time. And if anybody is going to the Bay Area and is going to be impressed by 20% time, let me tell you, Minnesota 3M had it first. You can Google that. 15% of my time, I can work on whatever it is that I want that I believe will be useful for 3M. So if I am in industrial and I have an idea for consumer product, I am allowed to work on it and I don't have to report it to anybody, and nobody better ask me. They don't ask me anyway, but nobody better ask me. This is culture of empowerment. Not everybody uses their 15% time. That's not the point. I wish everybody would, but not everybody does. Its idea is that you are empowered. That's the idea. So now I have this idea. What am I going to do with it? I'm not in consumer. How do I know who to call? Well, the great thing is we are thrown together all the time. If anybody wants to know what our secret sauce is, it's our technical forum. It's a forum organized by and for technical people. And we even have our tech forum chair in the audience today. This is an amazing organization. We have solutions that we bring. We have problems that we bring. We have successes that we bring, and we are constantly thrown with each other. And this is what creates our network, so we know exactly who to call. And 3 of the people who I would call anytime I had a question are here today, because you form lifelong friendships. You create a network. Okay, so I got a network, I have an idea, what do I do now when I have to spend the money? Aha, that's the other thing we do. We have Discover and Genesis grants that actually give you money. So I can take my idea and go Shark Tank style in front of a committee and say, this is what I want to do, this is why I want to do it, this is why it'll be good for 3M, this is the technology we have, these are the people I will work with, this is the money that I want, and this is how I will spend it. And here's the best part. The committee is not management. The committee is a committee of peers. So we are selling our idea to our peers, and our peers better get really good at figuring out what are good or bad ideas. So this is really genius. Because you want to have innovation in an organization, you can't turn on the switch because your people wouldn't know what to do. But we know what to do because I have to defend my idea in front of a committee of peers. It makes me a lot smarter about the market. It makes me a lot smarter about the intellectual property. It makes me a lot smarter about the products that are already out there. So I can defend that, and I can tell a story to inform, to influence, to inspire. That is the genius of it. In my 30 years at 3M, I've had 19 of these grants. I have lived in the 15% world, and this is the only reason why I have been successful, because I had empowerment, that I needed an emphasis on collaboration. Without that, I would be nowhere. I'm not qualified to do a single thing that I work on. And the communal context of improving lives. That is what empowers some of us. Then you can have your products go into your hopper and actually be commercialized. So when people ask me, oh, how does 3M do this? I always give them this answer. This is my perspective. You have to do all of these things. And if you just take one of these and say, hey, employees, you're all going to have 7.5% time of empowerment. And if you don't do the rest, it's not going to work because it requires the whole ecosystem in here. It would be an error if you do just one thing. And these are all the ideas that have allowed many of us to have successful careers. My first idea came from an uncommon connection. This is what we call at 3M when you are working in one area and you have an idea of another. I was a summer intern working in abrasives. And when I joined the company, I joined in the area of soft diapers for wiggly babies. But my first idea was from abrasives to adhesives. You can't make this stuff up, believe me. It was the first product that I had. And my most recent product is what I call the result of a TNT factor, trends, needs, and threats. How did I get good at imagining what the trends are? It's because I had to justify my case 19 times at least through my peers. How do I get good at understanding what the customer needs are? Because you have looked at so many different areas and threats. And that's how you do the Clayton Christensen type disruptive innovation within a large company, because you know if we don't do it, somebody else will. And this is exactly how we do the innovation. And the boundary condition that has really inspired me for the last 30 years is our sustainability commitments. And this is our science for circular, science for climate, science for community. This is the latest version of what we instituted in 2019, I think. And we are saying we are going to lead and innovate in all three areas. As you notice, there's a pillar called science for community there. Why does that belong there? Think about it. We need a lot more professionals in science, technology, engineering, and math if we are going to keep this going. We're already 120 plus years. We need that pipeline of talent, but we can't stand there and turn the tap. You gotta look after the pipeline, you gotta look where the water enters, and sometimes you even have to find the source, because that's what you do to make sure you have a robust pipeline. So we care about this, and we also care about STEM equity. And I know many people don't want to talk about it because there's diversity fatigue. Fatigue for the people who have to listen to it, and fatigue for the people who have to drive it. But let me tell you this, our logic is very simple. We are going to be, what, 9 billion people in a few decades. We really have to unlock the secrets to a sustainable future. And we are not going to be able to do it if we all look the same, if we all think the same, if we all feel the same. We're not going to be able to do it if we belong to the same community, if we belong to the same company, if we belong to the same country, or we belong to the same college for that matter. And that is why we are really investing in equity. And we have programs, and our program coordinators are here. We have programs that encourage and inspire students. We have programs that then help improve outcomes and transform their journey. And we are committed to sustainable development goals, and we want this world to be a great world with science and invite others to join us. In fact, we even wanted to understand what the public thinks about science. And there was no survey that we found. Now, we care about science. It is foundational to what we do. It is the strength behind our brand, science applied to life. So we really wanted to understand the public perception. And we did a survey for the first time in 2018. And when the results came out, it was really shocking. And some of you have actually heard the results from my own CEO who was here, who's also a U of M alum. 4 out of 10 surveyed, globally, 4 out of 10 said, if science didn't exist, their lives would be no different. 32% of the people call themselves science skeptics, and in this population, 6 out of 10 said, if science didn't exist, their lives would be no different. Shocking, isn't it? Now they were taking the survey on their laptops and mobile phones. So you see what the problem is. It's no laughing matter. Science is invisible. Science is underappreciated. Science is behind the scenes. People don't even realize that the gadgets that they can't live without, it was fundamental science and applications of science and decades of scientific research in some cases. And that is why 3M wanted to stand up for science. Great idea. But then they came to me and they said, you're going to be the chief science advocate. And I'm like, what? And I told Raghu, I got to tell him at least 4 things. One, I never wanted to be a scientist when I grew up. So if they want me to go in front of people and say, I always wanted to be a scientist, that would be a lie. And that's one thing I can't do. Second, I never secured admission in the hometown engineering college where I grew up. My dad was a university professor. All of us were told to go to the same engineering college. I had trouble in graduate school. I switched my topics from master's to PhD. And I came into 3M through the back door as a summer intern. 3M didn't go looking for me, really. So at least these 4 things I have to tell them. Long story short, Robert, who couldn't be here today, he won. I'm the chief science advocate. I'm glad I took the role on because I realized certain things. It made me reflect on my own journey. So it is important to move people from the apathy they feel. It is certainly important to break down the barriers, but C is the most important. Communication, communication, communication. Communication with a context that people can see and appreciate, that science improves lives, scientists can help people. This is the context that was missing. I never realized that I could connect these goals that I had with science. And for somebody who started out thinking they were not the science type, I'm at the highest level you can attain as a scientist at 3M. So I did all right. I have 80 patents to my name, numbers of awards, and I drag you through my story not to brag. I want you to think about what I think about each and every day. How many students, how many scientists, how many ideas, how many innovations, how many leaders, how many legends are we missing out on because of the way we teach, train, track, typify, and even talk about these fields. That's why we need to change that. So I was inspired and excited because this is exactly my story. After so many years, my daughter also stepped out of science because of these reasons. Why am I doing this? Who is it going to help? So this is personal. We have to change that. We are missing out on a lot, and this is the time when the world needs a lot of these innovations. So we did a lot of programming. We built a whole platform around this, and we did podcasts. We created series to show that scientists are real people because that's what the data said we needed to do. We also created a scientist a storyteller's guide so they can have compelling arguments when they are talking. And when the pandemic hit, suddenly students were at home. And we decided, okay, we got to do something. We did a DIY Science at Home series to inspire students to still be very excited about science with some of these household experiments that we could do. So a lot of programming because we are building platforms, and that's what we do at 3M. Oh, that's me. If you don't recognize, that's the science of makeup and lighting. I was so thrilled with this picture till my kids told me, great picture, but doesn't look like you. So I really had to take another one, but I don't tell them that I show the other one as well. Hey, it's all about possibilities. You gotta remember that. Okay, so then comes the pandemic, and suddenly people realize the importance of science. We're all waiting for the gift of science and the vaccine. People said, we need science, we need more science, we need more scientists, we need more people in STEM. And we need more diversity and representation because the other thing people saw is that the scientist community does not reflect what society looks like. Interesting. If they're going to tell me what to do, they better have good representation. It's logic. It's just logic, right? So that's why now we see in our survey, people are saying we need to do more to inspire girls in STEM and retain women in STEM. What do we do now? We're on this path to building a platform. You may know us for our N95, but you should also know us. We started doing docuseries because that's what people were watching at that time. Everybody was holed up and everybody was watching documentaries. So we created this docuseries to show that it doesn't matter what your race, your gender, your ethnicity is. Science will be better off for that diversity. Science needs you, and science needs you to be you. So bring that on and we will dismantle the archetypes and shatter the stereotypes of what it means to be a scientist. The following year, we found out that there was data showing that there is a real gap in skilled trades professionals. Now, skilled trades people are critical to making our world run smoothly, effectively, efficiently, safely, daily. And we don't even recognize that, don't even realize that. And most of these STEM skill jobs are STEM jobs. Imagine moving to renewable energy and not having anybody to fit those panels. Imagine making all these wonderful products, but nobody in the factories that is qualified. So we created this other docuseries, and both of them have been award-winning. So we're very excited about our blockbusters as we are building our technology building blocks. So here's the way I like to put it from my view in the trenches. The definition of success changed during the pandemic. Interestingly, it brought to light stakeholder capitalism. And stakeholder capitalism, that's the document that people had signed in 2019, but it was an idea that had come accelerated because it was needed. And for those of you who may not know, the stakeholder capitalism is based on stakeholder theory, and stakeholder theory was actually Freeman's theory, and Freeman was a faculty at U of M. So what does it mean? Success now actually is significance that underscores not just shareholders, not just customers, but also employees, communities, and suppliers. That is what the time in the pandemic really showed. We have been intellectually lazy, all of us. We are looking at a very narrow slice of our little world and trying to pretend and maybe even believe that other things are not connected, but it is all connected. It is all connected, and it has come to show that it doesn't matter. You can do one thing or the other, and there are a few things that belong here that I don't even show, but it's all connected, and we cannot pretend that it is not connected anymore. We all saw what happened. Science can be rejected. Technology will not be trusted. Products will be obsoleted. Companies will be obliterated. It is no longer just the practice of science, but who are the practitioners? It's no longer policy. It is also politics. And it's no longer people. It is their perceptions and the action and inaction that can result. And that is why it became important to think, are we really bridging to the future? Another image that I love, these are metaphors for me, they are very inspiring. This, I'm not sure how many of you have seen, is the extraordinary engineering marvel that was the Choluteca Bridge in Honduras. When Hurricane Mitch ravaged the region, there was more than 75 inches of rain in 4 days, and the road on both sides of the bridge was washed away. There was so much rain that the river itself changed course. So there's the bridge, but even the river doesn't flow into it. So that's the question. Are we bridging to the future, or are we still working on ideas that are way past their expiry date? Are we really working on the problem to solve, or has the problem to solve changed, but we are still fortifying that bridge that we decided to build? That is the change in perspective we need if we are to drive much needed innovation. Much needed innovation, which is happening at a very incremental level because of what we value. And these are not my words, these are the words of Professor Funk from the Carlson School, whose data shows, and many other people have shown that all the work that is happening is becoming more and more incremental. We really are not doing disruptive stuff. Collectively, all of us, because it is so much easier to do incremental stuff and it is easily rewarded. Now that I've got everybody depressed, there's hope. There's hope. Science gives people hope as they emerge out of the pandemic. They saw the connection that it has with our health. They saw the connection it has with sustainability. They saw the connection with the next generation of STEM. So, and we all know science is going to be a source of economic growth. This is where is the innovation. But innovation, the lens needs to change of how we view it. Otherwise, we are stuck in incrementality. All of us. And here's the best part. When you ask people, Why did you pursue STEM? We see people have all sorts of different motives. Agentic motives like I want to be in a career that is respected, I'm passionate about my field. But also motives of making a difference, motives of doing something for this earth, for the humanity, for people. And if you look carefully, there's a demographic split. Those who are underrepresented over-index on pro-social goals. This is not right or wrong, it's not good or bad, it's not right or left either. The idea is we need both. We need agency and we need communal purpose. And that is another reason why we need diversity in STEM fields if we are going to do what we need to get done, which is what the public expects as well, right? So, 2023, our survey. So we have consistently done the survey every year. The public recognizes what are the megatrends, exactly what you would predict. Climate change, shifting demographics, and the convergence of physical and digital. And just 2 weeks ago, or maybe even 1 week ago, we just launched the results of the 2024 State of Science Insights. And people say science is key to a resilient future. And if I were to paraphrase, they say 3 things. 1, climate innovation. For climate crisis, we need innovation. 2, jobs. It's going to be skilled jobs, STEM jobs, green jobs. That's where the future is. And the 3rd one is, of course, AI, the promise and the peril. So the possibilities and the regulations of AI. And all of this require us to be very, very particular about the lens that we put on innovation. So if we revisit now and go back to the drawing board, what have we figured out now? For this lens to change, for the context to be a lot broader and a much more diverse base, for the impact to be a much wider impact. Not just financial, but financial, social, cultural. Here are the things we have learned. Diversity is not about differences. I know it feels like that. Well, you're this, and putting everybody in boxes. Diversity is not about differences. It is a competitive differentiation. It is a competitive differentiation. It is a competitive differentiation because we need innovation. Innovation is not optional, it's the only option. And advocacy is not a passive act, it's authentic passion that people have that we need to tap into to drive that innovation. And leadership is not a quality, it is an earned qualification, because that's what it takes. It takes leadership to steer this ship. And I don't mean leadership that is consolidated power at the top, I mean leadership that all of us have within us. It is time for all of us to step up and be the leader that we think we can be. That's innovation. So here are the 4 things that I really think we should bring from miscellaneous into mainstay. These are the 4 things that are going to really change our mindset, given all the change in the world and where we need to head to the future. 1 is the myth and multiplicity of meritocracy. The myth and multiplicity of meritocracy and the multitude of ways in which it manifests itself. A clear example would be skilled trades. We have a large demographic swath that is retiring, and the next generation doesn't want to opt for skilled trades. Why is that? Because we created a meritocracy which says 4-year college, do this, do that, and your life is made. The students are going, why do I go into skilled trades? We have created a social stigma. And that is why we are working hard to shift that narrative and lift the stigma and sift through all the misperceptions, because we need skilled trade workers. So think about all the meritocracy that we are all operating under, and we all are, and how does it manifest itself? Number 2, intentionality and intersectionality and the integration of these considerations in everything we do. It's all the way back to even Clayton Christensen. You only serve a niche, and then what happens, right? You can sit at this table and say, this is the table, and everybody's vying for that seat at that table, and eventually people will say, you can have your table. We're setting up a different one. And that's happening in many areas, as you can see. So it's important to have the intentionality and intersectionality. Science of society and sentimentality. Somewhere along the line, we all decided science and business, no place for feelings, identities, needs, or lived experiences. So wrong. So wrong. If there's anything that can give you success in science or success in business, it is social science, because we're all people and we do funny things. And we do them because there's our head telling us that. So if we don't integrate social sciences into everything we do, there's a problem. And we all saw that during the pandemic, and we'll see that in spades if we keep setting social science aside and thinking, oh, we don't think about feelings or identities or needs or experiences. And the last one is community and communality in culture or curriculum. Whatever you're teaching your people, if it doesn't have community and communality associated with it, we're not setting ourselves up for what is to come. The best way is to teach it, practice it, so it becomes second nature to everybody. So these 4 points are my perspective, 30 years in the trenches on how I think we can keep driving innovation collectively. This is what it seems like, right? Big ship, how are we going to move it? There's history, there's proof. If I told you it was tiny tugboats and very, very small excavators, you know, that they actually, and the gravitational force of a heavenly body, they had to rely on the tides of the moon to actually get that out, but the ship got out, and it's on its way, right? And every little action matters, every voice counts. And I won't tell you this if I didn't believe. I actually believe this. Let me tell you why. In 2020, it was a tough year for Minnesotans. I would get calls from my relatives saying, what the heck is going on in Minnesota? Memorial Day weekend, misery. I'm not black, I'm not white. What is my role in this? I'm a highly privileged South Asian immigrant. What is it that I can do? So I went through my journey of grief, and then finally I said I need to be productive with purpose. So I took all the essays that I write and we compiled them into a book, and Society of Women Engineers published it. And all proceeds go to a scholarship for underrepresented minority women in STEM. And I did that because I needed to use my time and talent. The first thing we did was start the Sankofa Scholarship, but I didn't feel any better. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money, but I didn't feel any better because I didn't use my talent and I didn't use my time. I got the opportunity to meet the first scholar. You will not believe how fate conspires. I was invited to give the Silas Ethics lecture at Georgia Tech. And imagine that, out of the hundreds of options that the student had, where they were going to school? Georgia Tech. It was a life-changing moment, really, to meet somebody whose journey you are supporting. On my flight back, I told my husband I'm going to have to write another book. And he said nothing. He is wonderful. And so I wrote the second book, and I'm very happy to report we now have 4 scholars. 4 scholars. So one person can make a difference. Because one person does something, others join in. So I'm very grateful to Dean Prankert and the Carlson School. I have 50 of the books that the school has sponsored, and I brought my pen. I will sign each and every one for whoever wants a signed copy. And because my husband says quiet, I am writing my 3rd book, and we'll have the final in the trilogy, and that'll be called Engineering Blueprint. So please look out for those, buy them on Amazon, give a gift to someone. It is a gift of education, the best gift that you can ever give. It's a win-win. And if you want to know what kind of things I do write about, since we are in the business school, here are some articles that I've recently published. The first one is on executive communications, and it is with Professor Amy Edmondson of Harvard Business School. The second one is with Professor Rita McGrath of Columbia Business School, and it is about bridging the chasm between technical community and the business community. The third one is with leadership coach Tony Martignetti, and it is about how to view the scope of your leadership. And the fourth one, and I am so proud, 3M sponsored research at Indiana University to understand how to increase belonging in STEM, and our work was recently published in Nature. So with that, I really want to illuminate the fine print. And this is it. Now more than ever before in our lifetime, Innovation is a lifesaver for business. But how do you get that innovation? Inspiration is the lifeblood for that innovation, and purpose is the lifeline. So we all have to remember our purpose if we want to use this change to drive innovation. So with that, I think I've spoken too long, so all of those who are upset that I spoke too long, there's no free lunch. And for those of you who haven't had enough, there's 18 more minutes you can watch on my TEDx. Thank you very much. Thank you.